welcome to another episode of the Saturday Sanctuary. I'm your host, K. Will.
Your boy G.
It's your boy Sam Bob. Some call me Sam, some call me Bob.
Yes, sir.
Boy, Low Slagway.
And we are here to make sure that you guys are fully prepared for another Saturday. It is Monday. By the time you guys see this, you're going to be at the day of them dropping that first 12-team playoff prediction. But we are here to make sure that we go cleanly over what just happened this past weekend on Saturday. We're going to get right into it. Penn State, Ohio State. It was a good one. 7-point win. They won by 7, but from an emotional standpoint, Penn State probably feels like they got their ass whooped, to be honest. Usually we like to talk about the winners first, but honestly, we're going to have to talk about Penn State first. Where do they go from here? I mean, you've only lost one game. You are favored in all the rest of your games, but where do they go from here?
I think, honestly, it was expected, so nobody's really going to fault them too much. Who expected them to be Ohio State? I didn't. So, I mean, it's just like, you're still top 12. You're still going to the playoffs, which is very significant for Penn State as is. So, I mean, what else would you really like? I mean, you can't really blame yourself. I mean, dust yourself off, try again. I don't think if you ever seen them again, you would beat them then, but anything's possible.
Dust yourself off and try again. I guess. I mean, I guess.
I actually think obviously you don't want to lose to Ohio State in this instance, because you just haven't gotten that proverbial monkey off your back. And if you had beat them, there's a stronger chance that you're in the Big Ten championship with a chance to play for a bye week. However, I actually think this is probably more beneficial for Penn State, maybe in the long run. I still think they're going to probably end up being a top 8 seed. You've only lost to a team. Yes, they've lost one game to Ohio State. Ohio State will more than likely be a top 3 to top 5 seed, depending on if they beat Michigan and whoever they beat or whoever they play in the Big Ten championship game. Whether that's I think they still got to play
also if they beat Indiana.
Yeah, so they still got to play Indiana. My bad. Apologies. Do have to play Indiana, do have to play Michigan, do have to play Oregon. I would imagine that they'd probably be favored in 2 of the 3 of those games. Maybe even all 3 of them, actually. If you're Penn State, honestly, you sitting pretty because you get a chance to host a home game. You don't get beat up in the Big Ten championship game because you probably aren't going to make it. And you get to host a game in Happy Valley, which you're praying is at night, I guess. You might have a chance to win and advance to the quarterfinal.
I think that's a big one, but I think the biggest question with all of that is, though, are y'all actually going to take advantage of that time to really get yourselves together? I mean, we can talk about him not being healthy. When he took that dang speaking of Drew, that's what we're talking about. Sorry. Speaking of Drew Aller, he took the knee brace off. He looked better than – I mean, he was moving to me once he took the knee brace off. And I think regardless of how his knee may affect him on his planting foot and making those throws, nobody was getting open, dog. So, I mean, unless y'all figure out some better schemes, and I feel like they could have schemed themselves into a win. I feel like the win was there for the taking. And I feel like everybody believed Ohio State kept messing up or leaving the door open, not necessarily messing up, leaving the door open. Penn State was never trying to walk in. So, I mean, they can have all that time they want being the 5 seed, potentially. We don't know if they're going to be the 5 seed. But you don't know. I don't know what they're going to do at that time. And history tells me they're not going to do anything beneficial.
At the end of the day, y'all know how I feel about Penn State. I don't really think there's much they can do on the field. Like you said, it was hard watching the receivers try to get open. Unless you scheme up something different, which is hard to do in the middle of the season, I don't feel like there's much they can do. They just got to keep playing their brand of football, which isn't terrible. I mean, it's good enough to get them to where they're at now. Because like you guys said, I mean, they were a couple mistakes away from winning that game as well. I mean, Ohio State just kept them in it, and they also played decent enough to be in the game as well. But Franklin just has to win a big one, and he can't do that. But I believe, like Lo said, or GP, one of you guys said, they're in a good spot to still make the playoffs. But like I said a couple weeks ago, they're going to be a participation team. I think they're going to be a first round exit unless they get a good matchup. But I still find it hard to believe. I find them to be a participation team. So I'm sorry, Penn State, y'all could.
Moving on to, of course, Ohio State. they won the game at the end of the day. They did a great job. I think very, very big kudos to the run game. I didn't expect the run game to show up like it did, bro. It really did. But how are you guys feeling? Are y'all buying what they selling y'all right now?
I think Ohio State, first of all, for people that don't know, they actually had a change in their offensive line. Their All American guard moved over to tackle, and they had somebody else playing guard. And I think they figured something out because, to your point, their run game looked really good. They ran a lot to that side as well. I want to say that was the left side. So they did look really good. I think they figured something out at the end of the game when they got that stop at the 2 and they had the ball. They ran the ball every play and damn near ran the clock out driving down the field. So I think they figured something out at the end of that game. And their brand of football may change based off of that. Both running backs looked really good. To your point, Will had flashes in the game. Like he started off bad, then played great in the middle. Then at the end, he was real middish.
Yeah.
But I think that they figured something out with the offensive line, which also would help with the run game. So we're going to see if they can keep this up, especially against the team up north that won the national champions.
I'm weak. I can't do the math right now at this exact moment, but I do know Quinshawn had about 86 yards. And it seems, I mean, just looking at play-by-play from the last 2 drives, it seems like he got at least half. He had 95.
He had 95. Travion Henderson had 54 on the ground.
Yeah, you're right. 95 and 54. Looking at those play-by-plays from the last 2 drives, it does kind of seem like Quinshawn got at least half of those yards from those last 2 drives. I mean, he was running pretty hard. I know it was a couple times he looked like, dang, you might be as fast as they put you on NCAA football. And if he wasn't able to make those runs and the offensive line, like you said, wasn't able to make that change, or the coaches weren't able to make that change and find some there and the offensive line wasn't going to hold it down at the end, I don't think they would have held on to that 7 points.
Definitely want to give kudos to the O-line. Kind of want to give kudos to Quinshawn as well. I think he kind of held it down mostly. Also, it's very random. I think it was like the end of the half. Gerald throw a pass in the corner of the end zone. I think it was it Igbenogson?
That was the end of the half, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I got to give credit to him. I'm not calling him an MVP necessarily, but I just think that like that was a big pivotal play of the game because it happened right before halftime. You stole it from Penn State receiver. I think if they score, you never know where the rest of the ball game can go from that, because we did just say that they didn't lose, but by so much. So I think those.
No, that's real.
So yeah, Quinshawn, Igbenogson, and the O-line were my MVPs.
Definitely. Losu did it for you in the game.
I'm gonna say honestly, it was the defense. They stepped it up. They've been giving up a lot of points to teams that they shouldn't be giving up points to. I don't necessarily have a specific person that I want to say did it for me in the game, but just the defense overall. I think they held them to like what, a field goal or something in the second half or something like that.
2 field goals.
Or
no,
field goals,
one,
like just one field goal. Yeah,
because it was
that's
10.
For against the top 5 ranked team at that. I mean, that's thoroughly impressive compared to what they've been doing against, letting teams like Western Kentucky score.
Yeah, that's true. I personally don't feel like they ran the ball enough. I don't know how you're not trying to get Tyler Warren involved. I feel like it should have been in the game plan before we realized that your receivers can't get separation. Why you go away from the run? You get 3 this down, you get 3 the next down. It's 3rd and 4. That's not bad.
Yeah, that's manageable.
Like, I feel like they were going away from the run. They weren't getting pushed back too often from my perspective. But, of course, at the end of the day, Ohio State won the game. It came down to the 2 coaches. James Franklin got into it with 2 fans at the end of the game, so we're not going to get on to him too much. He might ask for our first and last names as well. But we'll talk about Ryan Day. Has our perception of Ryan Day changed after winning this game? How do you feel, Los?
Not at all. I mean, me personally, I don't necessarily.
You just not viewing.
I don't necessarily.
Yeah,
I don't personally have any issues with Ryan Day. I could honestly care less if he does good or bad. I could care less if he wins against good teams or not. I could care less. I literally don't care about Ohio State at all. But to me personally, I think from the opinions that I know you guys had, I don't think they changed because he beat Penn State. I mean, Penn State's top 5, but I mean, they just not. It was expected for me. It's just it wasn't like I didn't think Penn State had what it did to pull it out.
Yeah, you did.
I said it was. The spread was 3.5. I told y'all 6.5, and what happened?
You got it. You got it.
Yeah, I definitely. I also didn't say
Bob, how do you feel about Ryan Day?
True. What's Ryan Day's record against Penn State?
He's undefeated, ain't he?
I think he only lost like one game against them or something crazy like that. I mean,
I don't know. I don't think he lost.
I don't think he won a game. I don't think he lost a game versus them.
All right, well, that's my point. That's my whole point. Like, he did what was expected. I mean, why should our opinions change if he's been doing something he's been doing? I mean, there's nothing more to say about Ryan Day. He has the best roster in college football. He's not making it look like it, which is crazy. But I mean, he has to win. Put up or shut up. That's where I'm at with him. So
yeah, they haven't lost to Penn State since 2016. And he was not there. So
yeah. So why should our opinion change? So
yeah, I agree. Grant, you have the same sentiments?
Yeah, I kind of think this is just more what you would expect from him. It was just funny because it's like I will say he was under more pressure to win this game than James Franklin, because if James Franklin loses this game, it's just like same old Penn State. Y'all always lose to Ohio State. Y'all always lose to Michigan. Not to throw. I mean, obviously Michigan has nothing to do with this, but those are the two teams that he typically loses to. If Ryan Day had lost this game, you really would have started questioning some things, because you have a $20 million roster. You handpicked your quarterback when there were other plethora of quarterbacks that you could have chosen from as well. And you would have had 2 losses before December.
And you're out. I mean, we're now talking about can you even get in the playoffs, dog?
Playoff, yeah, exactly. Like you're. I still think they still get in the playoffs with 2 losses, but like now you're not even potentially a top 8 seed with 2 losses.
We don't know. I mean,
we don't know. I'm just saying, you don't know.
It's like
there's too many question marks.
No, yeah.
I mean, there just would have been more question marks than answers.
I would like to say I feel like it, but I don't know. Yeah,
so
that's real. More question marks than answers for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, I just don't think that.
I don't know, bro.
Because it's the numbers. It's the numbers game at that point. Because I thought about it, but I don't know what y'all were talking about pre-show, but just doing the numbers, like, okay, 4 from the ACC, 4 from the Big Ten. Okay, that's 8. That leaves 4 extra spots. Technically 3. Okay, 1 ACC, 2 ACCs, and a Big 12, or
Big 12.
2 Big 12s, 1 ACC. Okay, 4 ain't bad. Then you start talking about 5 each, or 5 and 4. I don't see Big 10 getting more than SEC. I really don't. I don't see it. Yeah. So it's like, dang, are they gonna give both of them 5? But even if they give, it don't even matter if they. Well, it does matter. But if they give the SEC 5, which I don't see them giving the Big 10 5 and getting the SEC 4, I just don't see that. So I think it's either gonna be SEC 5 or both 5. I feel like there's a bias there. I feel like in a position, I will actually, based off of this, I feel like there is a bias towards Ohio State from the committee. Like, it clearly is. I feel like if they were to be in a position to be the 5th team, they would give Big 10 5 teams for sure.
Yeah. But I mean,
but you start doing the numbers games on that 12.
That's a good argument.
I mean, tight. I also think.
I mean, we don't have to worry about it now, though. But
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, though, I have an unpopular opinion on this podcast. I know everybody knows that. I actually think Ryan Day is a decent coach, but the unfortunate part is
he's decent. Literally,
he's decent.
Chicago,
okay, yeah.
Not how Chicago people be saying decent, like literal definition decent.
But again, there's only 3 current coaches in college football that have won a national championship, and what blows everybody's mind is that Ohio State is a program that should be winning national championships, and you could argue that he's had the easiest transition or roster situation compared to what Kirby Smart went through,
easiest path
Swinney went through, even what Harbaugh went through. Like, Harbaugh had to build Michigan back up from what they were,
from the mud.
He had to build them back up. So you had a perennial top 5 program with Urban Meyer, and you got another top 5 you're in a top 5 situation and you haven't won one. So I know everybody's tripping out. I don't think he's a
Top
bad
3
coach.
program.
Yeah, I'll say really, if we really more so top 3, yes. I don't think he's a bad coach, but your expectations now is like you got to win. So that's why I'm like, there really wasn't anything shown to me. I think what would really prove that to people's minds, you got to go beat a Georgia. You got to go beat, I guess. Well, I mean, Clemson just lost, but like, go beat a top 5 team that is not Penn State, who you always beat up
Shit.
on.
Beat a Michigan. Shit. You
Yeah,
missing that.
like you haven't beat Michigan in the last 3 years. You gotta go beat Oregon.
I
Try to go
mean,
beat Oregon
there's
in the Big Ten championship game. Try to go beat a Georgia or an Alabama in the playoffs, something like that. Like that, I think will turn people's heads and be like, all right, we can start taking Ryan Day a little bit more serious.
I think he'll take more than one win though, more than one season too. But I mean,
brother, he has to he just has to win the national championship this year. Like it's actually an abject failure if they don't win this year, just based on
no, and that's why I say he has to do it more than this year. You can't just do it the year where not only like everything is in your favor, dog. The roster, the schedule.
Get off that shit, do that shit again.
Like you're gonna have to do it again because it's just like, bro, we've been waiting so long for you to do it. And then now you do it after so many seasons. Like this isn't his first time being favored to do it. This is the absolute where it's like, my nigga. Like this is that point. What else do I have to give you? We're at that point. We're not at your favorite. We're at the what else do you need?
See the thing with him is like basically what y'all saying. I actually had the discussion in one of my group chats yesterday. So like Ohio State is held to the same standard as Alabama, as a Georgia. The championship or bust. We actually looked at the recruiting classes. Like Ohio State has like had a lot of top 5 recruiting classes compared to all other colleges, and within the past 10 years, like the schools have been Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and you see what Georgia and Alabama have been doing. So you're on that standard. So you're. I consider him a bad coach for being on that standard and not doing what he needs to do in the big games. So yes, you're expected to be on that level because you recruit well. You better be up there. You see what I'm saying? But since you're up there, what can you do with what you have? And you can't do it. That's what made Jim Harbaugh a really good coach. He did a lot with a little. Like it's different. That's why we say he was handed third base. And he can't even hit the home run yet. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, I feel like he regressed. He's back on second now. So that's his standard. That's the problem with Ryan Day.
I do get that. The only thing that I would say my bad.
Right.
I was gonna say my last pushback is just that he barely loses in the playoff. Now Michigan is a totally different story. He be getting kind of waxed against Michigan, but the playoff, you've barely lost to Clemson. You've barely lost to Georgia. You did get beat the brakes off Alabama.
Don't nobody remember barely.
Yeah, that's fair. Barely, yeah. And that's fair. So that's the only thing I could say. Like throw him a little bit of a bone. So he has to get over the hump at this point.
Moving for sure. We did have another great game on Saturday. You know, shout out to Carlos and the good Florida Gators. I mean, fortunately, we didn't get to see a full game from DJ Lagway, we didn't really see that much, to be honest. But we did see Georgia go up against Florida. We saw a lot of Carson Beck struggling and doing a lot of stupid things that are inexcusable. I have nothing for him today. But you saw Georgia versus Florida. I mean, it was a great rivalry game. I'm glad. I felt like people were hyping it up so much to be nothing. Like people are almost hyping it up like this ain't about to be nothing. I'm like, okay, this is about to be one of them Georgia-Florida rivalry games. It's hard for a literal graduating class to beat the same team 4 years in a row. We have a class that's graduating this June or this May. Sorry, they never lost to Florida. They don't know what that feels like. So that's hard.
Niggas kill me trying to be humble. Like they want big shit talking like, oh, it was gonna be a competitive. Florida's looking real good this year. Nigga, stop. What are we talking about now? That's how you Bob, swear he down over there talking like that right now.
No, okay, let me clear it up. From what people were saying, I could tell, all right, like this is just giving that energy in the air.
You not standing on business.
Regardless of what the energy in the area is, there is no reason for that game to be that close. Like I called the game, we should have won by 17. We won by 14. What? Looking at the game, forget calling the game. We should have won by 24 probably. Like it was, like we were bad. We were bad. It was bad.
But
it wasn't.
The thing
it wasn't
is,
awful because we did put up what 30.
One person was that bad, and if the one person that's that bad
Yeah,
is
if
the
he
person
didn't turn
that
the
has
ball,
to touch the ball every play.
what's frustrating is he threw 3 picks when we were driving in Florida territory 3 times. Like literally.
See, the thing is now you can only base it off of what you've been seeing, and to be honest, you've been seeing this week after week. So I mean, I get.
Yes, but we saw different last year, and I know people like to point to last.
That's last year, though.
That's not what we liked about. That's not. I mean, honestly, I feel like Lad and Brock were an issue for us because they were so inconsistent themselves. They didn't play that many games, and then on top of it, they were forced to play an SEC championship. They were no good. They should not have been on the field. But what we liked about Carson was he always threw the ball smart. He didn't turn the ball over. He checked the ball down. He threw the ball away. Like. Yeah. Niggas didn't like that, but it's like, bro, I would rather. Okay, he didn't see nothing. I trust you ain't see nothing. He threw the ball away.
He regressed.
You can throw the ball away with Lad and Brock on the field, but now you can't throw the ball away with people who are having issues getting separation right now. What's happening? Why are you forcing it? You're trying to be the goddamn Heisman. Stop.
I mean, I that is part of it. I also give credit to Florida's defense for causing turnovers because
they absolutely showed up.
Because what's his name? Gates. I think his name's Aaron. Was it Aaron Gates? Los 13.
Yeah.
He was everywhere. I think he made like 3. There was one drive he made. It was the drive he picked the ball off. He comes up. He hits Nate Frazier in the backfield. Then he made another play like right after that, and then he picked the ball off. I'm like, bro, he ended the drive himself, essentially.
Yeah.
Like he was a big factor. And then. What's frustrating, I guess, if I'm going to bring you back to Carson, he's not comfortable under pressure. He really wasn't comfortable under pressure last year, but he's just like really uncomfortable under pressure. And he just acts like he starts seeing ghosts at this point. So
I think this year is much worse. I feel like he was not uncomfortable last year. I think we viewed it as being uncomfortable. But when I started adapting that, okay, during pressure, you don't see nothing, you're not going to force it. You're not going to be Stetson. Stetson forced stuff, and sometimes it panned out. And sometimes it didn't. You also don't have Stetson's legs. So it's like, I feel it. As somebody who's not a running quarterback, make the smart play, throw the check down, throw it out of bounds if you can. I'm cool with that. The shit he doing this year, dog, what are you doing? You ain't never been doing that. What we doing now? Go ahead, Los.
I'm not going to lie. DJ Lagway don't get hurt. Y'all possibly lose that game.
No.
I think so.
Okay. I'm open to anything. I'm okay with you saying.
Hey, if y'all don't think so, hey, okay, you UGA fans, so you got to be overly biased, you know.
Nah, we don't have to be that.
I said this. I mean, I said this in the chat earlier today. DJ Lagway is very talented. He's a very talented dude. He was also 2 of 6, and that touchdown was a broken play. Not even a broken play. It was a busted coverage.
Busted coverage, but regardless, it was bad coverage. Like, I'm tired of that too, but whatever, they made up for it. Cool. But to say that y'all, I'm cool with saying y'all possibly would have won. Y'all would have had a chance. At the end of the day, we don't know. Possibly, all that means is y'all would have had a chance. Would y'all have had a chance? Absolutely. Y'all would have still been in the game. Y'all was still it was 20-20 at one point.
Yeah.
So I can't sit here and say they wouldn't have possibly had a chance. I think a lot of things changed from DJ being healthy. I think that changes even our offensive play calls. But regardless, they had a chance. I have to give it to him. He was only 2 of 6, though. I think we're giving too much credit, but I think
you're giving too little credit. You judging them off 6 passes. Like, they didn't even warm up in the game.
I don't think y'all would be throwing the ball.
I'm not saying y'all had a chance based off of what he did in the game. I don't think he really did much besides he didn't do nothing. He threw that bomb.
I think y'all would be running the ball more
effectively. That's a broken coverage.
They were moving the ball, though.
Y'all were moving the ball, but I think it was more so the run
had
game.
A chance simply because he's shown that he's just shown enough to say y'all would have had a chance. Point blank, y'all would have had a chance. I think y'all would have had a chance, but regardless of that, I don't have else for Carson Day.
I have a question. I have a question for you, Los. Would you keep Billy Napier off of the effort that y'all showed in that game, or would you still fire him? You do have a hard.
Personally, I don't. I still don't understand the whole fire Napier, movement going on because I don't think Napier has really had an opportunity to do much of anything yet. Like he wasn't he was the team he was given was trash from the jump. Like he was given a trash team from the jump. He was building from start, bro. Like
yes,
come on now.
How many years is he on right now?
This is his third year.
It's his third.
He's a good he's a good recruiter. The problem is you had a situation with Mullen. Dan Mullen did not like to recruit, but Dan Mullen can coach. So you're and I don't want to say Billy Napier.
Dan Mullen was living off Kyle Trask coming and having an Aaron Rodgers year.
Yeah. But I will say that like Napier, I don't know. It's frustrating. You really got to figure out what happens in these last, 4 games or whatever. You still play Texas. You play Texas this week. You still got LSU. Y'all got Ole Miss, right? I think.
Yep.
Y'all got Ole Miss, and then y'all got
Florida
State.
LSU, then Ole Miss.
Okay, so Texas, Ole Miss, LSU.
Florida State's our last game.
And Florida State,
Texas, right? LSU, Ole Miss. Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State.
You gotta attempt to win two of the 3 of those, 2 of the 4 of those games. I think to keep it.
Attempt.
No, I'm serious.
They better.
We have at this point we have and it's like an unfair pool because now you got him with a third string quarterback in the game, bro. Like
that's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. I think
that is what is tricky because it's like, all right, I'm gonna be honest. If y'all had pulled the upset, I think they would have said, all right, you can stay. Because those dudes are clear as day. Florida's still fighting. Florida could have quitted. Yeah, they're not quitting. Your starting quarterback tore his ACL. Your backup quarterback now has a hammy injury that you don't know if he's going to play against Texas moving forward. So you're kind of on your third string, who's a walk-on from Yale, who grew up a Florida fan. Like y'all are like he's not helping.
He better be goddamn Stetson Bennett.
Yeah, he's just not being helped out right now. But I got
a video of him smiling on the sideline while DJ Lagway was down with an injury. And they had a close up of his face, and he like in his helmet. All you see is him on the sideline, like,
oh, he's finna get in.
And they were like, oh, he been waiting for this moment his whole life.
Yeah,
he grew up. I heard him say
he definitely clearly wasn't good.
A Florida fan, but I'm curious if they keep Billy for another year, just based on like the beginning of the season wasn't good, but like y'all are fighting. Like the team hasn't given up when they could have given up a long time ago.
Yeah, that's true. I think they.
I mean, you might as well. Ain't like you get no lottery draft pick. You can't tank. You don't get nothing from losing.
You don't. I mean,
that's why they gonna get rid of him.
You don't. But exactly, like there's the opportunities y'all can do a clean slate situation. It is still Florida. It's still an SEC program, still a storied program. And again, it's not like y'all are devoid of talent. Y'all have talent on the roster, clear as day. Y'all run game was straight and y'all defense was straight in that game. Secondary was.
Doesn't that mean it's the coach's fault?
Yes.
I think it takes a little time. I think people are looking at. I think they're looking at their. They're looking at their competitors. They're looking at how quick, quote unquote, Georgia got turned around. We just happened to go to the national championship in the second year. We didn't. I mean, I don't. That shit. I'm not saying it was luck, but goddamn it, it took a lot. We had 2 senior running backs. We had a very experienced O-line. Like,
I mean, at the same time, look at Ole Miss though.
Huh?
At the same time, like, look how fast Ole Miss got turned around.
I don't think they got turned around. I think they just turned into a show pony. I mean, it's just something to watch. Like, when we look at the big games, they don't win them. I mean, they do the same shit.
Calling Ole Miss a show pony is crazy.
Yeah, that was insane.
I mean, they are. They put up 63.
But, I mean,
we're going to see what we're going to do to them. They put up 63, but I guarantee they in a close game with a third-string Florida. So it's like, it's cool until it ain't. Like, it's cool to watch.
I don't know.
Until it ain't.
I mean, maybe this is the Georgia fan in me saying this. If I was a Florida fan, I think I'd give Billy a little bit of leash. But regardless, that decision might have already been made up. Like, whether let's say they fire him, but the decision is you may not fire him at the end of this year. You're probably thinking about firing him middle of next year. That search is probably on starting now if they've made that decision.
That'd be crazy to fire him at the what? That'd be crazy.
Fire him next year. I mean,
yeah, because I think a big part of probably firing him is does DJ Lagway stay? And if he stays,
he's staying.
You should either keep the coach or I don't know, bro. I really.
I mean, I'll. The only thing
he can go anywhere. He can go wherever you want to go.
Yeah, I think the only thing that's maybe here's the most questionable thing I would say about Napier this year is you probably should have started Lagway a lot earlier than you did. Now, granted, the only problem with that is Mertz was not horrible last year, especially like I think down the stretch. But you knew you had a 5-star, you had the best quarterback in the country coming in. You either should have tried to develop him immediately or been like, hey, this dude finna be our starter at some point this year. It just so happened to unfortunately come.
I said that earlier and niggas called me crazy.
Said what?
He should have started.
DJ Lagway should be starting.
He should have started early.
You did say that.
I think I think he should have. I think after that Miami game, I would have. Sanford is the perfect team to just let him do it. I mean, bro, we seen.
But everybody was telling me I was crazy because they pulled Lagway back out after the Sanford game, and I was like, let him stay in and play against some big dogs, see what he really do.
He kept doing the back and forth thing with him, unfortunately, and I think you should have.
You was the number one culprit that told me pull him out. You said, nah, I think he's right to pull him out. It's like Arch Manning.
Nah, I'm not saying that.
That's what you said, Kaylin. That's what you said.
I did it because we never really talked about
run the tape.
Yeah,
run the tape. You definitely said, I understand I'm pulling him out.
We talked about DJ in the Miami game. I didn't even know how much he played at Sanford and how much he didn't play in Texas A&M. I really didn't know, so I know I didn't say that. But I think
he played the whole Sanford game because that's when Graham was hurt and he cooked. And then next week, Graham Mertz was back healthy, so they were putting him back in.
If I said that, it was probably just from the simple standpoint I understand you putting your starting quarterback back in. Not anything about him being a freshman. Like, it's just like, okay, I get it. You put your starting quarterback back in. He back. It was one game. Cool. Do what you feel like is the best game plan. Do I think was the best game plan? Hell no, because I don't understand how. I always feel like running quarterbacks is the best game plan, especially somebody that can actually throw the goddamn ball. So I just feel like I feel like that puts you in a better position, and you at home against Texas A&M, so you can control the environment. It's not like you throwing him to the wolves. Like, get him ready, get him right. But I mean, we ain't gonna see that now, unfortunately. But I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if Lagway stays necessarily. I also just feel like if you're not getting Lane Kiffin, who is you getting? So let's stop.
Whoa! Where do you? Wait. Time out. Where is Lagway going? Wait a minute. We're not talking about Lagway going.
Brother, I look at the message boards for other teams. That's what y'all fans want. They want
No. You said we'll see if Lagway goes. I was like, hello.
I don't see him leaving.
I see him.
Also,
why? What?
You see DJ Lagway leaving?
What points y'all to in this? I'm just kind of shocked that in this climate, y'all of all people, y'all think a 5-star quarterback on a losing team is for sure staying. In a paying environment where we can literally pay for players. What?
So no, I think that he stays.
Nah, he will stay because they will pay him to stay.
Yeah, I think he stays, but I will say his DMs are probably crazy right now. I will say that.
Yeah, nasty.
His DMs are probably.
We better be on the hotline.
Yeah, whether that's Texas, I'm so serious. Whether that's Texas A&M trying to bring him back home to Texas, whether that's Miami trying to figure out something, Florida still trying to keep his people are definitely on the.
And Miami got the best pitch. Miami got the best pitch for you. Hey, baby, come over here and do what Cam just did. Like, come on over. We got this wall of China in front of you. We don't play nobody in the ACC. Clemson's trash. Like, come on over. You don't got to get beat up and hurt against Georgia. We don't play them guys.
And you go into the league.
Yeah, brother, that ain't happening. Baby. That ain't happening.
I feel like he has a little bit more loyalty than that right now. He literally stuck.
We don't know that. Why?
I'm just saying. Hear me out.
He got anything.
That's fair. He's stuck with. I'm just letting you know he's stuck with Florida when it was bad last year, and he was like the crown jewel of their recruiting class and whatnot. And again, excuse me, Texas A&M was beating down his block during the high school recruiting stage, trying to make a late push.
Yeah,
for him, and he still
Texas
said no.
A&M was trash too, though. Texas A&M was trash too.
Yeah, and they fired. I mean, they
It was,
fired their head coach. They've been had done that though.
and they fired. I mean, they was up in the limbo, so it's like, I'm just curious to see. I'm not saying I'll be surprised if he stays, but I just think it'll be interesting to see.
I mean,
But
really,
we'll go
it
ahead
really
and.
depends if Billy leaves. So
You said what?
it just depends on if Billy leaves.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. But we'll move on. Speaking of Texas A&M, had Texas A&M. They gave up a big one to South Carolina. I mean, they are officially the reason why there are no undefeated teams in the SEC right now. So, big win by South Carolina. Big win by South Carolina and Shane Beamer. I have to give all credit to them. Texas A&M did not lose that game. South Carolina went in there and they won that joint. I mean, and their fans, bro. Big shout out to their fans. They had that joint rocking for sure. How do we see? I guess how do we honestly see Texas A&M rounding out? I think this is a good opportunity for us to see if Mike Elko is about what we think he's about, building a program and keeping a program.
I still like Brother Elko. I think that I don't want to say that they were underprepared for this game. I just think that South Carolina was at home. It was nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
They was active, and they really just had no. And it's funny too. The D line actually did a decent job. You just can't. Lenore Sellers is just a large human being.
Hard
Like,
to guard.
he's hard to bring down. Like he's like Cam Newton size almost, if I'm not mistaken, or to that equivalent. So he was, and
He
he's barely,
big.
yeah, he's like 6'5" and like 230. So it's hard to bring down. And I think that it's funny, like if you look moving forward with their schedule, like they still play Texas, which is probably like their big last game.
That's the only game they really got left. They
Yeah,
play
but
New
it's
Mexico
like
State.
Quinn Ewers is probably going down with some of those rushes that Lenore Sellers was able to escape out of.
Absolutely.
Like he's those are sacks.
He's a freshman, right?
Yes.
Lenore Sellers.
Yes. Yeah. Which is crazy.
Like, and I mean, the way Quinn has been looking, I don't even know if he's taking off on some of those for real. Quinn has looked definitely not unathletic, just less athletic than usual.
Yeah, he's not running. He's not escaping some of those rushes. Like those dudes actually had Lenore's like in their grasp, and he was just like, "I'm gonna shrug these dudes off, and I'm gonna keep moving." He extended drives. Yeah, he's extended drives.
Yeah,
it kept rolling.
It is worth noting. I mean, Texas A&M was on. I mean, they got the bye week this week, so I mean, I feel like the most dangerous game sometimes is those games that you have some good competition, and it's right before that bye week. So I think that was a big part of it too. Bob, do we feel like now that Texas A&M versus Texas game is a big must-win for both teams? I think it was already a must-win for Texas. Is it a must-win for Texas A&M now as well?
No, it definitely becomes a must-win for both teams because both teams aren't really out the title hunt, to be honest. Because a win over each other can be that much more impressive, especially in the eyes of the voters. So I mean that game honestly becomes a playoff game. If both teams go undefeated up until that game, so if that makes it that much more interesting. But I really want to talk about South Carolina because that defense could play with anybody in the nation. It's actually kind of crazy. And that's why I'm asking Sellers being a freshman. I feel like his inexperience probably was holding him back because he can play good. He shows flashes like past game. He played really good. So I mean, they could play with anybody. They're very exciting to watch.
They also lost his number one target in the middle of the game as well, Bennett. So I mean, I thought that's when Texas A&M was gonna come back. I think BT accidentally called me while I was at work. I was like, "Hey, bro, like South Carolina up right now." He's like, "Dang." I'm like, "But Bennett just went out, so Texas A&M probably gonna come back." No, like South Carolina really held that down, and they put foot on that for sure. But do we feel like let's just say Texas beats Texas A&M, right? Are they in a worse position if they beat Texas A&M and then lose in the SEC championship? let's just say they lose an SEC championship again to Georgia. So kind of to put that argument back on the table about Ohio State losing to Oregon twice. What happens with Texas if that happens?
I think
I'm a firm believer. You go ahead, Juby.
I just feel like in this instance, Ohio State would have maybe played a stronger schedule than Texas, because Texas would have only played Georgia and A&M basically the whole. I mean, you played Michigan, but you smoked Michigan, and they're not. They have like 4 losses this year, so I feel like you would have.
I mean, you played a very good Vanderbilt.
Okay, I'll give Vanderbilt.
An okay Vanderbilt team.
Yeah, I'll give love to Vanderbilt. They're top 25, I think, again. But in the traditional sense, you would have only essentially played 2 tough opponents, whereas at least Ohio State would have played more than 2 in that instance.
Who did they play though? Because I mean,
they would have played Indiana. They would have played Indiana, who's a top 10 team now.
Yeah, Oregon, Indiana, Penn State. So Penn State, quote unquote. So
Penn State.
I mean, technically, some people would put.
They're still a top 10 team.
Yeah, some people put air quotes around Indiana as well, because if Indiana loses to them, it's just like, all right, well, that's the only team y'all played for, and y'all lost to them, so But I mean, in Texas's case, I mean, you got Georgia. That would be either your Oregon in their case that would be their Oregon, and then of course you got Texas A&M. I mean, it is what it is. You play Michigan, shared opponent, so I guess we can kind of see how that goes for both teams. Granted, that was at the beginning of the year for both teams too. But I feel like you played a pretty good Vanderbilt. I wish Florida wasn't banged up, because I feel like they would have tested a lot of teams, and I also feel like they would have got that bowl game like predicted too. I mean, you're gonna go play Arkansas. You're gonna play Kentucky at home. We'll see. I mean, it's kind of getting to the end of the year. Kentucky is in, but Arkansas
for Texas.
Arkansas is a trap game. Arkansas also just got their top blown back by
Ole Miss.
Mizzou, wasn't it? Ole Miss
put 60 on their head. So,
that's
but that's why I call it chump pony. I mean,
but Arkansas and Texas is more of a rivalry. Like, that's an old Southwest Conference.
That's true. They're bringing that back. They're bringing it back. So I mean, that'll be interesting. I don't know. I feel like I kind of get it. I don't know. I want to give that schedule lean to Texas a little bit. Just for me.
See, me personally, I'm a firm believer that if you lose to a playoff team twice, you don't deserve to be in the playoffs. Because my thing is, the same exact team. I'm sorry, the same exact team twice. Why are we putting you in the playoffs? Because, for instance, okay, Texas, they lose to Georgia twice. What makes you think that if you see Georgia in the playoffs, you will beat them again?
It's hard to beat a team.
Unfair. It is, but it's still unfair to put a team that lost to you twice instead of giving another team a fair shot to actually beat you, instead of saying you beat up on the same team over and over.
I think it's just so nuanced. Never been in this position. Usually it's 4 teams, so you may have a chance to play them twice, or a chance to figure out who's going to win this battle. For the
three times is OC. 3 times is OC. Let's be real.
I will say though, I think
it is
the losers of these conference championship games. I do think that they won't be a top 8 seed though. They won't host a home playoff game. So like, let's say the SEC is going to be interesting, because whoever loses the SEC championship game is going to have 2 L's minimum.
But but at that point, then we're talking about punishing people for making it to the conference championship at that point. So you're going to punish me and put.
Yeah, you lost. You should have won. Period.
Should have won.
You should have. And the only reason I think there's only one team right now that I would probably give the benefit of the doubt to of being able to host a home playoff game, and they'd still be a lower top 8 seed. And that'd probably be if they lose the SEC championship game, and that's probably Georgia because of the conference, because of the schedule that they went through, and everybody knows that. Maybe,
but that's why I'm saying we're talking about Texas though. I feel like you can't say. I mean, I get what you're saying. Drop them, but at the same time, it's like, dang, we're gonna drop Texas, put them below an 8 seed, but we're gonna put Texas A&M up there around 6, 7. We're gonna put Tennessee up there around That's where it started looking like,
See,
now you punishing me because I played an extra game.
you play a
yeah,
game.
and
That's real.
that's why it's a human. That's why it's a human vote this year. I mean, in the playoffs, because they're also going to look at that like, okay, they lost, but are we really going to put that team above a Texas? Like, they're still going to take that into element. They're not going to like totally ignore who they're putting above, like a Texas or like an Ohio State or something like that if they were to lose twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's real. But we'll go ahead and move on. We kind of just talked about the SEC there. We'll go ahead and talk about the ACC. Nothing really too big going on, but I feel like we have a clear view of what's going to go on there. We got SMU at the top spot, of course, with Clemson losing to Louisville in a crazy one. It wasn't a crazy game, but it's just crazy that Clemson really went out sad like that. But how are we feeling about that? I mean, I guess right now we kind of running towards SMU playing Miami. I mean, it's kind of, I think we waited all this time to see what was going to happen. And then now we're kind of in a place where it's like, all right, well, it's just going to be SMU versus Miami now. I mean, in any way, shape, or form, do we see it any other way?
I personally saw it different. I thought it would have been Clemson versus Miami, but Clemson really fell off the deep end. I mean, SMU stepped up. They started playing better. They definitely played extremely good against Pitt, who a lot of people thought would win that game. But based off quarterback play, I mean, Jennings went out there and we were like, hey, if Jennings struggles, this shit's gonna get bad. But Jennings was out there 17 to 25, 306 yards, 2 touchdowns.
He threw that joint this time.
He was throwing that. Hey, that boy was slinging that rock.
No cap.
I'm glad you said rock.
That is absurd to assume that anything else was said.
But nah, he really was doing really good. And I think that proves your point. I mean, you kind of, in their case, leave that quarterback out there, let him cook. Just let him cook. I mean, it seemed to work. He threw a good completion percentage, had a good completion percentage. They was moving the ball. I mean, at the same time, Pitt just looked kind of trash out there. And I think maybe it was down to the home field advantage. But, I mean, Pitt has a chance to play Clemson, I guess, for a moral victory. I don't see them in any world giving 3 ACC teams a playoff bid. But, I mean, I guess for a moral victory, a better bowl game, I guess. But
nah, I ain't going to lie for 25-48, we ain't blaming that on home field advantage, man. Especially with 2 of the touchdown. You only had 11 points until the last 4 minutes of the game. You got 2 touchdowns off the last 4 minutes of the game. Like, I mean, is that you being good finally, or, you know, just...
I feel like they look trash, but I thought it would be closer, and I just went with the home team, and whatever happens, but they ain't look good at all. They got their ass whooped, for real. But we'll see what goes on. They definitely not getting 3 teams in the 12-team playoff. So we'll see what happens with the Pitt Clemson game. I guess it'll be kind of entertaining for people that really like the ACC. I don't know any of those people, but whatever. Moving on to the Big 12, though. Of course, we kind of settled some things there with the shakeup going on a little bit. It seems like it's a 3-team race right now. Of course, with Iowa State, and then of course,
what three teams will get in?
Yeah, I was confused.
No, I'm saying you have a 3-team race for the Big 12.
Big 12 title.
That boy be lost.
No, I'm talking about before you had switched over when we was talking about the ACC.
I said they're definitely not 3 teams in.
Oh.
Yeah, they're not.
Yeah, definitely not getting 3 teams in the ACC at all. Like, nobody's going to be one. So, I mean, technically, Pitt and Clemson are playing for third place in a couple weeks.
It's going to be one unless Clemson finds a way in and wins it. Then you may put Miami.
You think it's just going to be one? What if SMU beats Miami? I think if SMU beats Miami, they're putting Miami in there.
I'm saying Miami has to lose the conference championship game for them to get 2 ACC teams in. And I still think they would want Miami in just off the wildness factor. Like Cam Ward might win the Heisman, so I think you would want that type of you want those type of eyes on your product. I think for you.
Yeah, that's a fact. But moving on to I think this conference, regardless of winner or loser, I think they're only getting 1 in. But with the Big 12, of course, it's pretty much a 3-team race now. You got Colorado. They got a big chance now that Texas Tech went ahead and handled Iowa State one time. So they got a chance, of course. And then, of course, you still have Iowa State. They have a chance. And then you got BYU. I think if BYU loses, although they are undefeated, if they lose in the conference championship, I don't see them putting them in, regardless of who they lose to. I think they'll just leave it at the Big 12 champion. How do you guys feel about that? Where do you guys see it? Let's just go ahead and call a winner right now. Who's going to the Big 12 championship and who's the winner?
Well, I'll let you know, BYU is going to the Big 12 championship with no questions asked.
Yeah, BYU's going for sure. But
Colorado doesn't. I mean, if Colorado loses to Texas Tech this weekend, they're cooked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I think that's the only team that could. That's the only team that should. I mean, Utah. They keep trying to play Cam Rising.
I think Colorado needs Kansas State to beat Iowa State, if I'm not mistaken.
They need that to happen so that they outright get second place. But they win the tiebreaker based off. I read that tiebreaker. It kind of gets stupid. But basically, it'll have to finish out. We'll have to see what happens. But basically, it'll go from win percentage, obviously, against common opponents. Technically, they both would have. If they both went out, they both would have been 1-1 against their common highest rank or their common opponent. Huh?
Why is it not? I said, why is it not head-to-head for them?
They don't play each other.
Kansas State did play.
Why would Kansas?
I'm talking about
Kansas State. Kansas State won.
Not in it. Kansas State is not in it. Yeah, Iowa State. They need Kansas State to beat.
That's what I'm saying. I think,
but Kansas State only one spot behind Colorado. They can very well.
But I think Colorado. What I was saying is, I think Colorado, in order to get into the Big 12 championship game, they need Kansas State to beat Iowa State because those two play each other regardless. And I'm not certain if Iowa State loses again.
Kansas State has 2 losses already. Colorado would have to lose for Kansas State to even get a chance. So that's what I'm saying. Kansas State isn't really their worry at all because as long as Colorado wins out, Kansas State don't have a chance, regardless of who they beat. But I'm saying Kansas State. If Kansas State beats Iowa State, of course that gives Colorado the edge. Not only gives them the edge from common opponents, but obviously Iowa State will then have 2 conference losses. That's what I'm saying. They'll outright give them in. If Iowa State beats Kansas State, it'll come down to their win percentage against common opponents, which will be equal because then they beat Kansas State. And then Iowa State lost to Texas Tech. And if Colorado wins out, they beat Texas Tech. So they're even. Then it goes to some weird stuff about common opponents or highest ranked. It's just some weird stuff. I didn't read all the way through it, but the Big 12 expert basically said, I don't feel like explaining it, but right now Colorado would have the edge based off of the tiebreakers. But, of course, it'll be much simpler when it's time. We'll see. We'll see. But you're saying BYU. Everybody's saying BYU, but who's the second team? Who do we think the second team is going to be?
Logically, I feel like I want to say Iowa State. I just feel like Kansas State ain't sweet. And they do got to play them at the end of the year, but I probably feel more confident in Iowa State getting to the Big 12 championship. I think.
Okay, Bob.
For me, it depends on how Colorado looks this weekend. If they look real good and beat Texas Tech, I'd put them. But right now, I'm going to put Iowa State as well.
Yeah, I'm tentatively putting Iowa State because I do think that there's a chance that Colorado sneaks in the back door and gets in that joint.
That's gonna get him. That's gonna get him some recruits.
I think y'all being scary though, because y'all want to wait till this weekend. This weekend is when we find. I feel like that tells us everything we need to know. They beat Texas Tech. I think what I'm saying it's gonna come down to the wire. But I feel like Colorado beats Texas Tech, and I feel like Iowa State is then put in a position where they really might end up playing tight because they got to play Kansas State at the end of the year, and they know if they lose that game, Colorado, if they just win out, they done their job. If they just win out, they don't have any good teams to play outside of Texas Tech. But Iowa State, they do have to play Kansas State. And Big 12, I think they got a lot of pride down there right now. You're not going to be in the playoff. You're not going to be in this and that. But I think they'll have at least enough pride to play spoiler. So we'll see. But then, of course, we got the Big 10 right now. It's looking pretty tight at the top. I like how it's looking. We got Indiana. They're going to play Ohio State. That'll solve a lot right there. Oregon's pretty much good. They're set. And then we got Ohio State. They do have to play Michigan. Michigan's not hitting on anything, but at the end of the day, you got to play them and you got to beat them. I mean, you never know what can happen to make that a game. We don't know. But how do we feeling about that? What's our predictions on that? Let's just go ahead and get an early prediction. Who wins? Who loses? Who's there in the Big Ten championship?
I think Oregon is a lock for the Big Ten championship. Obviously, the Indiana Ohio State game will determine who gets in for that. I personally think Ohio State gets in, and I'm gonna hold off on who I think wins the Big Ten. I'm gonna hold that to a later date.
Bob,
Oregon's winning the Big Ten.
Is that hate?
Oregon's winning the Big Ten. No, it's just. I mean, they already beat Ohio State, right?
Yeah,
so
they
did. And I.
Damn.
When Bob
do
that, it just be like he wants to give it some credit, but it's like, oh, no.
It's just the fan of me. But nah, it's gonna be Oregon, Ohio State, unless Indiana's a sneak team. I've been talking about them. I mean, I've been trying to tell everybody, give them their respect because they a whole different program now. If they can sneak and beat Ohio State, which I think they can. But that's why I'm saying Oregon more confidently because I'm still more confident in Oregon than I am in Ohio State. But it's between Oregon and Ohio State. But I'll go to Oregon. I'm more confident in Oregon than Ohio State because of Ryan Day.
I think the Tez Johnson.
I'm more confident on Oregon because of that Hawaiian.
I think the Tez Johnson injury is
telling you, bro,
something to monitor though. He's supposed to be back in a couple of weeks, but I mean, hopefully he'll be back.
He got some time. He got
championship time.
Yeah, he got some time. They play Michigan this week, and then they get a bye, and then you got Ohio State. So they got 3 full weeks technically. This week, next week, week after. Like he's got a little time. I mean, I think it's important to see though, but we'll see.
Did they play Michigan this week, or did they already play them? Didn't they already play them?
Yeah, I'm going straight up Oregon. I'm not worried about nobody else.
Tripping.
Oregon is the team to beat. I'm telling you. Trust the Hawaiian, the Rose, the beach, the island, the quarterback.
Trust the Hawaiian.
Dylan Gabriel, Hawaiian of the year.
They already beat.
I'm with it. I think
they already beat Michigan, by the way.
Huh? Oh, my bad. I'm thinking about
Oregon already beat
I'm
Michigan.
Talking about Indiana.
Yeah, we play Indiana this week.
We were.
Are y'all about action?
Why are we talking about Indiana, bro? Come on now. I thought we talked about this already.
Are y'all about action, Bob?
Against Indiana?
Yeah, talk to me.
To be honest, I don't know how committed our players are right now. I think they will come back for sure, but I don't think they really care about like the other wins other than Ohio State. And it also depends on if Will, because I mean, Will didn't even play the past 2 games, so I mean, I'm not too sure how locked in our players are right now.
That brother is
I
trying
expect
to
that
get
from Michigan.
Is he said he's league bound. He might play Ohio State just because he wants to go.
That's what I'm saying. Ohio State.
Because he wants to go 3-0 against Ohio State and say I locked down Jeremiah Smith or something like that.
And Marvin.
Yeah, put that on tape.
Yeah, Bob. I'm not gonna lie. I expect your team to be some quitters. I ain't gonna lie. You're the only team I know that has somebody win a championship, get drafted, and retire before his first NFL game. I don't know. I ain't never seen nothing like that before. So I expect y'all to be clocked out of this season already. Y'all not even thinking about no bowl.
We're gonna put up a good game against Ohio State for real.
You know what would be crazy? If we win 2 more games and they drop Florida and Michigan in another bowl game.
All right, and moving on.
I would love that.
To spank y'all ass in 2 straight bowl games would be.
I think that'd be such a good game.
I would watch
the crash out would be crazy.
For another episode of the Saturday Sanctuary, we are out. We'll see y'all later this week. Make sure you don't make no crazy bets without us. We ain't gave them drops yet, but make sure y'all tune in. Make sure y'all voted. Make sure y'all tune in for the 12-team playoff. What time the 12-team playoff drop?
Not gonna lie, I don't think I gave y'all an L yet. Alabama.
It's either tomorrow at noon. No, it's probably a selection show.
It's not gonna drop in the middle of the day, personally.
No, I think it's like 5:30 or something.
Probably, it's probably in the afternoon or in the evening. I should say.
It's in the evening, afternoon-ish, but after work. But we'll see. We'll go ahead and drop our 12 too on Instagram, but make sure you follow us. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on TikTok, Instagram, all of that.
7 p.m. by the way.
7 p.m. Okay. We'll see. It'll be a good show. We'll see if I think we might be I think we did our 12. I think we got a good 12. I think I could tell you what their 12 is going to be because they're biased, but we'll see. I think the biggest thing, they're going to put Ohio State in front of us. I hope y'all ready for it. But, and they should be, right? I'll take that. We'll beat the third seed. I think they'll do it. They love Ohio State. But, moving on, Saturday Sanctuary, we out. We'll holler at y'all later this week. Most of bad. I just want to say you are a real baddie for changing your color of the match. Yo, outfit right now.
You know I did that. How you know? Look, the green was, the green was like, it was like old time. The blue did something to the camera when I changed the blue. So
your camera was.
This is not Zeus Network.